Welcome back to Hi Guys, it's your boy BDR, and I'm back with another AQW overview video. Now I understand it's been like, about 2 weeks since like the last overview I did, so I decided to come back and do, Verus DoomKnight. It's been on my list for a bit now, and I think it's time to do it. So, a little lore about Verus DoomKnight, you know, it was the 2023 birthday class for AQW, so this class is about to be 2 years old this year, and it requires a boatload full of grinding. At first, when it first came out, it was, after getting some player back, some feedback, it was deemed, mid, underwhelming. So the devs buffed it a week later, and now Verus DoomKnight is known for being, a great support class and a great debuffer. Now we got that out of the way. Now let's talk about how to obtain Verus DoomKnight. Now, the only way to obtain Verus DoomKnight is that, you have to come here to Tamina Temple, talk to this stranger, and you'll do some quests. As you can see, I've already completed the quest, that's why I have the class. Now then, you do have to have a whole bunch of requirements. And the requirements for Verus DoomKnight are, you have to be rank 10 evil, you have to have the Shadow Reaper of Doom, Sepulchre's original helm, Arch DoomKnight helm, Dragon Lord of Evil, and I think some items from the Void. I think it's like Zyfrag and Nerf Kitten as well. And you have to be level 80 to access the quest. So you already know from the jump this is an endgame class. That's pretty much it. And after doing like a whole boatload full of quests later, and when you're done, long ass quest later, you get to access a shop and you get these weapons and stuff. Get the class for free, armor, helms. Let's see what you get. Now we got that out of the way. Now let's talk about the skills. You know what I mean? The class overview. Now it has its own auto attack in Necrotic Blade, 2-second cooldown, physical, short range, 1 target. Strike your target with your Doom Blade applies weaken, reducing your opponent's outgoing damage by 15% for 20 seconds. Wow. Then we have our rank 1 skill, Soul Fracture, 5 mana, 5-second cooldown, magical, long range, 1 target. Reduces your opponent's damage resistance by 50% and physical and magical resistance by 30% for 8 seconds. If Unleashed Doom is active, apply Shattered Soul, reducing the target's physical and magical resistance by an additional 30% for 5 seconds. If Darkness is gathered, applies Cataclysm, increasing your crit chance by 20% and crit damage by 50% for 20 seconds. Then we have our rank 2 skill, Life Carve, 5 mana, 5-second cooldown, physical, long range, 1 target. Drain life into them, applying Lingering Darkness, a DOT for 6 seconds. If Unleashed Doom is active, applies Necrotic Warmth, restoring your HP over 5 seconds. If Darkness is gathered, applies Veil of Darkness, increasing your damage resistance by 50% for 20 seconds. Now your rank 3 skill, Doom Spikes, 5 mana, 5-second cooldown, physical, long range, 1 target. Applies Spiked, reducing your target's haste and dodge by 15% for 8 seconds, can't miss. If Unleashed Doom is active, applies Skewered, reducing your target's haste and dodge by an additional 15% for 5 seconds while also stunning them for 1 second. If Darkness is gathered, applies Demise, increasing your outgoing damage by 15% for 20 seconds. Now your rank 4 passives are Inner Darkness, hit chance and haste increased by 20%, and Doomknight Armor, endurance and damage resistance increased by 50%. There we have our rank 5 skill, Unleash Doom, 8 mana, 10-second cooldown, long range, 1 target. It inflicts them with Decay, which negates all non-lifestealing that they receive for 3 seconds. If you have 10 stacks of Doom, they are consumed to apply Unleash Doom, empowering your skills and increasing your outgoing damage by 25% and haste by 50% for 8 seconds, can't miss. If Unleashed Doom is activated, it is already active, you gather Darkness, empowering the next skill that you use except Necrotic Blade with an additional effect. And finally, for our rank 10 passive, Dooms All Around, starting from rank 1, all skills except your Necrotic Blade, which is your auto attack, will grant you 1 stack of Doom, which stacks all the way up to 10 and is used for Unleashed Doom. While Unleashed Doom is active, you can't gain stacks of Doom at rank 10, increases your crit chance by 10%. So Based on what we could gather here, this class really wants to just weaken the enemy, cripple the enemy with the debuffs, reducing their hit chance, crit chance, dodge, haste, magical resistance. This class is just debuffs, debuffs, debuffs. Excuse me. So yeah. Now then, that's what we can gather from the class so far. Now then, let's move on to combos and enhancement. Alright guys, so here's the build for Verus DoomKnight. Now for the weapon choice, if you have Dauntless, there it is. But Ravenous is pretty nice too. Obviously, applies execute, as more and more of your if your opponent's HP decreases, you do more damage basically. Lucky because obviously, crits and whatnot. Vainglory for more DPS. I mean, with all the damage resistance you already have, I don't think you don't really have to worry about HP all that much. And, Anima for 10% hit chance. As you can see, the endurance is right here. Now then, for substitutes, you can, go full luck with either Spiral Carve or Awe Blast. But I'm pretty sure if you're level 80, you should have access to some Forge enhancements by now. Alright then, now we got that out of the way. For your combo, what you're going to want to do here is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and use your skills when they are available. This class is just, massive debuffs, we're barely getting hit. As you can see right here. So far, Verus DoomKnight is a good soloing class, but the problem is his DPS is this DPS is mediocre, even for like an endgame class, an endgame birthday class. Because the thing about it is, I'm about to talk about another class in a second. Endgame classes and birthday classes, they are held to a certain expectation of being good. That's why people trashed on Marshall Bank Artist. Can't believe that class is in the same league. But enough about that. As you can see with Ravenous, we're doing pretty good for our DPS. We're hitting like 13Ks and whatnot with the debuffs that are applying and whatnot. So, yep, debuffs, 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 and bam. A minute 9, pretty good soloing numbers, soloing time, and pretty good numbers right here. So yeah, in terms of soloing, it is a good soloer. It can hold its own thanks to its debuffs and resistance, but its DPS is low/mediocre. That's why you need stuff like Ravenous and Dauntless to really carry out the DPS. Now we got that over with. Now let's move on to farming. Now, in terms of farming, yeah, don't farm with this class. It's a single hit targeting class. Yeah, it's long range, but use something else use a multi-targeting class for farming. Alright, then let's move on to survivability. Alright then guys, so in terms of survivability, Verus DoomKnight, it has good survivability, but it can't really survive, everything. Don't get me wrong, it does have, debuffs, it could stun the enemy, apply DOTs and whatnot, but in some fights, like let's just say Primarch or like Legion Lichlord, unless it has other classes with it, it could get like one shot, two shot by some of those types of bosses. So yeah. In terms of survivability, it can survive some situations, but not all situations. Alright, then let's talk about its support and then final thoughts. Alright, so in terms of support, this is Verus DoomKnight's bread and butter. This class is known for its wide amount of debuffs. Even starting from the auto attack can reduce outgoing damage. Soul Fracture can reduce, damage resistance and physical and magical resistances, which can also stack as well. With Unleash Doom is active, also there's here a DOT right there. More debuffs with Doom Spikes, just reduce, 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 while also increasing your outgoing damage. Has a chance to stun, and just negate all non-life stealing that they have. It's just that with all this right here, really makes it like a top tier support class in group fights, mainly for its debuffing capabilities, able to just reduce and basically break down the opponent, which is what this class just wants to do, just break down the opponent. So like the major DPSs like, Void High Lord, Chronos, and Chaos Avenger can really go crazy when this is active. Plus, paired up with other supports, with Legion, Revenant, and Lord of Order, its DPS can actually, reach some pretty good, numbers. That's pretty much it for a support. So, support-wise, one of the best in the entire game currently. All right then. The pros about Verus DoomKnight is that one, it's easy to use. Another thing about it is that it has top tier support in the form of its many debuffs, which can stack, by the way, and it's used in a handful of ultras and challenge bosses, mainly Ultra Dage, which outright replaced Legion DoomKnight in Ultra Dage, and plus it's free to play. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the pros, right there. All right then, the cons about Verus DoomKnight is that its grind is annoying. Like, you guys gonna have to understand is that you have to like fight Zyfrag and Nerf Kitten numerous amount of times. Plus Shadow Reaper of Doom is like a 1% drop. Also, say in the comments below, how long did it take for Undead Args to drop the Shadow Reaper of Doom? It took me about like 2 hours on the computer to finally get it. So yeah, it's pretty much that. It's a slow class, and its DPS is kind of mediocre for an endgame class, especially if you're comparing it to other endgame classes like Void Highlord and Chaos Avenger, and even Arcana Invoker, which also takes a while to ramp up. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the cons. My final verdict about Verus DoomKnight is that Verus DoomKnight is one of the best support classes in the game. It's highly recommended in group fights such as ultras and challenge bosses. I highly recommend getting this class due to its like extremely good debuffing capabilities. Alright then, that's pretty much been it for the Verus DoomKnight overview. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. I want to thank you guys again for watching our channel. And yeah, hi guys, out.